I used to wake up at 4:30 a.m. I used to sprint down the stairs, get my hands on as much coffee as I could possibly hold, guzzle it down, and sit down at the computer, ready to pound it out, hour after hour after hour, 14, 15, 16 hours, till midnight that night. I would grind until my eyes bled. I believed in the hustle, I was loyal to the hustle, and I thought that the more I sacrificed, the more pain I was in, the more I was suffering, the harder it was, the more I was struggling, the more I must have been progressing. And I was so productivity and optimization obsessed that one weekend I decided that I would leave my computer be and go to a conference on, of all things, productivity. And one of the speakers at that conference was a guy called Vishen Lakhiani. He's the CEO of Mind Valley. He works with some of the world's most successful, productive people. And I stood up in the audience, I raised my hand, and I said, "Hey Vishen, what do the world's most successful people actually do? How hard do they work? What does their grind look like?" And I'm secretly hoping Vishen was going to tell me the key thing is to get up at 3:30 a.m. That's the missing move. You need that extra hour. But Vishen tilted his head to the side. He looked at me sympathetically and he said, "You don't understand. You've got it all wrong. Look at some of the world's most successful, productive people. Elon Musk, Ariana Huffington, Jeff Bezos. They're thousands of times more productive than you." And that hurt, by the way. Vishen continued, he said, "These people, they have the same 24 hours in a day that you do. Yet their output, what they're actually accomplishing, is so enormous. It simply could not be down to the amount of hours they work. Time could not be the determining factor in productivity." And I took Vishen's words. I was half mind blown, half skeptical, thinking he was trying to trick me into working less, scared that I was coming up behind him, steal his throne. So I decided that I wouldn't just take his advice and run with it, but rather I'd run an experiment to test if what Vishen was saying was true. So when I got home from that conference, I did the unthinkable thing. I forced myself to work less hours. I reduced down the amount of hours that I was working, capped my work week at just 35 hours a week, 7 hours a day. It was a forced holiday at the time. But as I began to work like this for a couple of weeks, I noticed some interesting things started to happen. Firstly, the speed at which I was working, the velocity of my work, how fast I was able to accomplish things that had previously taken hours, that increased. I was able to get the same things done in less time because I knew at the end of the day I had a hard stop. I had to finish work. I also became more intentional and strategic about what to work on. I would take time to actually identify the tasks that are going to lead to the thing I'm trying to accomplish in the first place. I was also forced to confront the fact that I can't do it all myself. Having this limited amount of hours made me accept that realization. So I got better at delegating work, getting a helping hand. I got better at deferring work through prioritization, often realizing that that work was never even necessary in the first place. But the best piece of all from this experiment was that my ability to get into flow state, that zone that you've all experienced, that gorgeous state where you're totally and utterly absorbed in what it is that you're doing, lost in the work, where hours go by in what feels like minutes. My ability to get into that zone increased. And after running this experiment for about a month or so, I finally began to realize the truth of Vishen's words. Productivity is not about just doing more. It's about getting more done. Productivity is not about activity. It's about accomplishment. Productivity is not about busyness. It's about progress. Productivity is simply defined as how much you can accomplish in any given hour. It's not about working more hours. And the cool thing is, the research backs this up. Work done at Harvard Business Review looked at two groups of consultants from Boston Consulting Group, BCG, one of the world's most prestigious consulting firms. The first group, like my older self, was allowed to work endless hours, just letting their work spiral out of control, 15, 16, 17-hour days into the wee hours of the morning. The second group, they were forced to finish work after 7 or 8 hours. That second group's output, what they were actually producing for the firm, was so much greater than the first group that BCG made it a permanent policy. So my plea and suggestion to all of you is that no matter how hustle-obsessed you are, no matter how much you currently have on your plate, no matter how busy and demanding things feel, force yourself to contract down your hours, to put a limit on your workday, and watch as you start working faster, as you become more intentional and strategic, as you get better at delegating and deferring and even deleting work entirely, and as your ability to get into flow state increases. And best of all, as you're left over at the end of the day with more time, more life to do the things that you actually enjoy doing. Thank you very much.